Hello, Abraham. I'm a great lover of nature, and my partner and I particularly have a passion for fishing, and we're very, very good at it and very successful. And one of our favorite areas to go to is the Gulf Coast of Florida. And in fact, we're heading there in the next month to do that. And so I've been thinking about the Gulf oil spill. I know that's in the news a lot. And actually, I've felt very little negative emotion about that, partly because I'm not willing to. And secondly, because I believe in that we live on a beautiful planet, and it has the inherent nature to be self-sustaining and self-healing. And I also believe that the most talented engineers on the planet are probably there working for a solution. But I was wondering if you could give us some guidance maybe on what thoughts we might be able to think, both maybe individually and a collective consciousness, to maybe speed up that process of restoration.
Well, for each person who approaches the subject, the answer varies a bit because it depends upon how you're feeling as you are approaching the subject. We are appreciating the words that you're offering, and we think the most emphatic place to begin this conversation is by remembering that as a problem is coming into focus, a solution is too. Mm-hmm. And in fact, we would like to go further. We would like to say that not only are there solutions to problems, which is a sort of after the fact soothing idea, we would like to go further and say solution and evolution exist because of problems. In other words, if you can wrap your thoughts around the idea of expansion benefiting by a problem which induces a solution, you're there fast. Mm-hmm. Now, there are many people who don't want to go there at all. They don't want to play that let's feel good game, mm-hmm. because they want to blame, or they want to flail about in the discord, or they're just standing in a place where they can only see the downside of it, and it's too soon for them to even try to find the upside of it. And that's one of the benefits of this incredible recycling process that you've got going on this planet. Mm-hmm. In other words, in terms of the becoming of this planet, this oil spill in the Gulf is minuscule. You should see what goes on in the eruption of 90% of the volcanoes simultaneously. If you want to talk about a sort of eruption, now you're well past that time, but in the evolution and the becoming of this planet, there have been all kinds of things going on. And at the time that you are here living, this planet, while it is a living and breathing and continually evolving thing, will continue, as you eloquently said, to find its balance. Now, what's upsetting about this particularly, if this were a volcano spewing, like the one in Iceland, that is actually causing more atmospheric disruption, you're not as ready to push against that because you don't have a target that you can blame. Who do you blame for the eruption of a volcano? Mm-hmm. Paley. So it's the human interest in placing the discord that you feel at someone's feet that is the most interesting thing to us, because you said something so good to hear when you said, I'm not uncomfortable because I don't want to be. I don't choose to go to that negative feeling place. Mm-hmm. And that's such a brilliant and wonderful resonance understanding, because what you're actually saying is, I know no good comes from my disconnection, and so I'm not willing to sacrifice my alignment for something that is not going to make any difference anyway. In other words, I can't get unhappy enough about something to fix it.
Right.
That's for sure. No one can. So the more unhappy, the more people are, then the slower the process comes. The more isolated from that discord those who are seeking solutions are, then the faster the solution will come. But we want to get back to this point of human sort of urgency to place blame. And we want to emphasize it in this spirit. As the situation erupted and the spill began, and people became aware of what was happening with the oil going into the water, the problem coming into greater and greater focus, the solution coming into greater and greater focus too. Then the discord that so many people began feeling all around the planet, and the emphasis as they're sort of beating their own drum with their own specific axe to grind. In other words, some people are just against oil of all kinds. Some people are really against the drilling of it domestically. Some people are really against the drilling of it in the water. In other words, there are a lot of different people with a lot of different reasons that they are shining their negative spotlight on it. But we want to suggest that in the same way that the problem of the oil spill is producing solutions that are equivalent, now so many people chiming in and placing blame and adding to the problem is adding to the solution as well. In other words, we cannot join anyone in their dissatisfaction about the spill or about the negative response to the spill, because we know so well that any problem coming, so now you've got an oil spill problem, you have an ecological problem, you have a political problem, you have, in other words, there are all kinds of problems that are coming into focus and all kinds of solutions that are coming into focus as well. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would relish solutions, and we would call solutions and evolution the same thing. It's almost like the same word. Mm-hmm. Solution, evolution, solution, evolution, solution, evolution, solution, evolution. In other words, expansion as a result of exposure to life. And if anyone reaches the place where their exposure to life has them so freaked out that they just cannot stand it, then they feel the way they feel because they've pinched themselves off from the solution of which they are a part. You can't be part of this planet without being part of this vortex. And so we really want to say that the oil spill is the least of the problems of what people are feeling emotionally. What they're feeling emotionally is that they're using this oil spill, just like the next thing that will come along and the next thing that will come along and the next thing that will come along, as their excuse to deprive themselves of their own expansion. And that is such a misunderstanding of creation, such a misunderstanding of life on planet Earth. Esther asked us about it early on, and we gave her the analogy that if you have a hangnail, it is uncomfortable, and it is limited usually to a very small area of your physical apparatus. But in terms of your whole body and all of its inner workings, it's really, other than hindering, not very significant. The whole of you is healthy in relationship with this. And we can't even find an analogy significant enough to point that out relative to the wholeness of that which you are. In other words, we know it's big, and we know it's messy, and we know you don't want it, and we understand why you wish it hadn't happened, and we get all of that. We're just saying it's not worth a moment's grief that you are giving to yourself. Mm-hmm. And the thing that's so interesting is that people will use this and then the next recent and the next recent and the next recent and the next recent until people have sort of trained themselves into